morning and welcome to the Lost Boys to Found Fathers podcast. I'm Will Haycox and joining me is my co-host Gabe O'Sullivan. We're men who have suffered the loss of a child. Through this production, we desire to offer encouragement, strength, and hope to our fellow brothers who have traveled the same journey. Good morning, Gabe. This is episode 45, the second part of the little series we're doing here on stress relief and recovery and just the importance of taking time to get a break from the rat race of daily life and to rest and recover in the Lord. What you got for us?
Yeah, so if you hadn't listened to the last episode, make sure you do that because it's going to build on, obviously, you can kind of lay the foundation of where we are today. We're just talking about the necessity to rest and recharge. That's good advice for anybody, but especially for somebody that's going through a stressful situation like the guys listening to this podcast who have suffered the loss of a child and are trying to make it through every day with that burden and with that stress and obviously just trying to make it. So we talked last episode, I'm not going to go over the whole thing, of course. We talked about even Jesus needed time to be alone and recharge. We talked about Jesus also spending time in worship corporately and certainly by himself with the Lord, and we can certainly use his example to do the same. And I'm going to jump right into another scripture here where Mark 6:30-32 says, "The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all that they had done and taught." So obviously they had been busy. He had sent them out kind of on a mission to do some stuff, and so they're back. And it says, "Then because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, 'Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest.' So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place." So here Jesus being a leader, seeing his guys were no doubt pumped up from the cool stuff that had happened that they had just been through. But he recognized, oh man, these guys need to recharge, right? Because you've been so busy, you hadn't even been able to eat. I know we've all been there, right? You've been so busy at work, you just had to go, you didn't even get to stop and eat lunch, much less take a rest. Mm-hmm. And so these guys have been doing that, and Jesus understands that. And so he models for them and actually makes them, go away, get on a boat, and go out and have some time to rest and recharge. Kind of makes me think of the new Top Gun movie. Like Tom Cruise, man, he's pushing his guys hard, like making them study, making them do all this practice. And then, of course, you have to have the obligatory beach scene with everybody with their shirts off, not the ladies, of course, where they're out there playing some kind of beach football. And he understood the importance, right? Hey, you gotta have fun, but you gotta have fun and play hard, so that way you can get back and work hard as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the last 2 points we focused on, were the importance of being alone and the importance of worshiping, and I think these are all elements that build on each other, and being alone and taking the time to worship alone and worship corporately, but also worship alone is like, these are like the steps, the way I see this, in resting. Like, take some time to be alone, take some time to worship the Lord, and then this step is to recharge. And I think recharging involves those two things. Like you just said, maybe some people are able to do that, but I can't recharge at work. Like, I can't recharge when I'm taking care of my daughter, and I just told Gabe, she's been kind of sick this week. So unless you're like super dad, like extremely super dad, I don't know how you recharge while you're taking care of a sick 2-year-old. Like, that's not easy to do. Like, that's your job. Not. You take care of your children, you'll make them feel better and all that, but it's not restful to take care of a sick child.
Yeah.
My wife told me, my wife stays at home and takes care of her, and so she's a lot better at that than I am, and she has a lot more patience than I do, just in the fact that she does it every day. But she was telling me yesterday, like, she was just being yucky all day, like the normal things she does, falls down, bangs her knee and all that stuff, and she gets up and keeps going, like, because she's sick now, she's fine, and then she falls down and just like falls on a carpet, so it doesn't hurt, and then she cries. And so, like, she was messing with me yesterday, my wife was, and just saying, like, next time, tomorrow, if she's still feeling bad, I'm gonna let you hold her every single time, right. Every 3 minutes. Yes. When she cries. So that's something that we need to do, but it's not easy to do. And I don't want to sidetrack this too much, but I think of that, maybe like that superhuman ability to recharge on the go. There's a book I read about running, Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. Probably some of you out there have read it. There's a part that talks about like this woman that she's an incredible runner, and her like special ability is that she somehow has figured out like to run when she runs downhill. I think the way they describe it is like she just lets her legs go kind of not really limp, but like she quits working really hard and she just kind of like plods down at a good speed, but it's like something about the way she leans back and just chills while she's running downhill recharges her so she can go back up a hill. And it's like I've tried that a few times and I'm like, no, this is just as hard as going uphill, because it's weird, you feel like you're coming down so hard, it hurts your feet. And so like maybe there's some people that can do that and like recharge on the go, like Gabe gave a shout out to Celsius energy drinks I'm drinking right here right now, and because I'm about to go on a run after this podcast. Maybe that's how you recharge, is you drink your coffee during work and all that. But I think the healthy, spirit focused, the good God honoring recharging, like we said, focuses on being alone, worshiping the Lord, and doing a quiet time like you mentioned last time, Gabe. But what does it look like for you to recharge, I guess?
Yeah, I was thinking too. First of all, for those that might be watching on the YouTube, I was just scratching my eye because at the angle that this camera is, you might have thought I was sticking my finger up my nose. I was not doing that. So I just want to clear
totally
that.
He was picking his nose on YouTube.
I just want to clear the air there. But it made me think of like when I was a kid. My dad, who's a chiropractor as well, and he is technically my stepdad, and we some days like we would come home from school and mom would be like getting our clothes together like in a suitcase. He'd be like, Mom, what's going on? Your dad called me at lunch, said he's tired, he's ready to go to Disney World. Okay, that's cool. So he would just like get to that point where he was like, I got to get out of here. I got to take a break. I need to recharge, right? And so he would work, until 7 o'clock on Thursday, get home 7:30. Mom would have the motorhome packed, and we would just get in the motorhome and drive to Florida and spend the night in a rest area. For 6 hours he would sleep. Me and my brothers would wake up the next day. We would be almost in Orlando, and he modeled that really well for me. Now, unfortunately, I have done not such a good job as him of actually stepping away. I would say overscheduling myself, even with good things like with church or with extracurricular activities or different boards and this kind of stuff that I'm on, and when he was alive, he would always tell me, he'd be like, Gabe, you got to chill. You got to take some time. And so just this past, I guess, 6 months, I've really started to take that to heart. It took me 20 years of practice to get there. So I'm kind of a slow learner, obviously. But I've noticed that that's been really good. What we've seen in my personal life is obviously a lot less stressed and tense. In my business life, even our office, I'm working less than I've ever worked as far as like seeing patients wise, doing a lot of other work for the office, but our numbers have actually increased instead of decreased. Because I have that ability to focus when I'm there and to focus on what matters. I had opportunities again to be with the wife and kids more, which has been good, and allowing us to connect as a family. So I think we have to do those. We have to like schedule in those times that we are going to get away, just like Jesus took his guys away, and he didn't. It says they went into a solitary place, right? So they went somewhere and went camping. It's kind of what it sounds like they did that a lot, and they had to get away. So it's like, even if you stay in town, you will not be able to rest and recharge. Sometimes you got to get out of Dodge. Like, even if it's driving 30 minutes up the road, to the mountains. We live with 30 minutes from the mountains, right? Where you just getting away for a few hours. Or maybe you're like, hey, me and the wife, we got to get the grandparents to watch the kids, and we need to run down to the beach for a day and just sit on the sand and look at that ocean for a few hours, eat some seafood and come back up the road. Like, whatever it is, like it's it's imperative that we take those times to recharge and reset, because our family needs that, our wives need that, our kids need that, our co-workers need us to be focused. And if we just go, even if it's doing good things, man, it's gonna overwhelm you, and you're just gonna get burnt out.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of different things I think of when you say that. I guess one thing, I'm trying to remember right now where I heard it. If it was, I'm going through a portion of seminary training right now with our church as a school of ministry that offers basically the first year of seminary for free for guys that are planning to go into the pastorate. And there's multiple books I'm reading through that, so I don't remember which one it is, but it talks about, like, as a father, like I said earlier, my role is to work hard, in the home and out of the home, and take care of my family by providing for them, take care of my family by coming home and doing the chores that are necessary in our house, however we split them up, but also, take care of your family by loving them, loving my wife, loving my child, building them up, encouraging them. And you're really not called to rest in the sense of taking care of your family. You are called to work hard, to pour yourself out, to love your wife and your children sacrificially, and then you need to rest in the times after you've done those duties that you have, so that you can continue doing them. And I think there's this, and our pastor, I think, talks about that, like, you are called to work hard so that you can rest. And like, if you there's two ditches, to everything. There's two extremes that, you can work yourself, kind of what we're talking about. And I guess that's the stage of life that you and I are in, that we've got a lot going on. A lot of, like you said, is good stuff, is small group at church, is building up our careers, and, helping our family's future there, things to do with the children and all that. But, we both err on that side of, like, go, do everything, and then we can maybe burn ourselves out by not taking the time to rest, or we neglect our family's needs by not taking time to rest. And some of you may be like that, and that's, I guess, one ditch to live in after losing a child and, dealing with that grief, is to throw yourself into work.
Yeah.
The other side, which I think is just as bad, is I need to rest. So I'm going to get home from work, and I'm going to go home, and I'm just going to, we're Baptists, so you're not supposed to drink. Some of us do. We see you in the liquor store, we just don't talk, right, Gabe? But like, whether you're going home and you're opening a beer, whether you're going home and you're just sitting in your chair and watching football, or watching your show, or, whatever your rest activity is, if you get off of work and your pattern is come home, expect the wife to have food ready, expect all the kids to sit down and shut up and leave you alone, and you're just doing nothing, on the weekends your grass is 3 feet tall and you're just too tired, too lazy to cut it, you're all of these things, not to say, like we said before, we're not legalistic about this. Like, if you're going through a time of severe grief and you're crying out to the Lord, like, I'm feeling what the world would call depression, and I need your spirit and your hope, to fill me back up, then I think that's right, for a period of time to be grieving so much that some of the less important things get put to the side. But if that's the pattern of your life, that you're not taking care of chores, you're not building up the family, everyone in your life you're treating them as if they're to serve you, that's the opposite ditch, where you're wasting your time. Like, you might be doing the minimum to get by, but you're not resting, recharging, you're just lazy.
Yeah.
And so I think there's two sides to that.
Yep.
And what we see Jesus modeling, I think, is I'm going to work so hard, and this is a paraphrase of a quote that stuck with me over the past few weeks since I read it, is like, Jesus is working so hard, and that's his routine, that when he does rest, the people around him rejoice when he rests. Because it's not this, like, you work, I know you work 8 to 5, but you come home and you do nothing kind of thing, where your wife is like, maybe wrongly, maybe rightly criticizing you. It's, You know, you work from 8 to 5, 7 to 5. You come home, you work from 5 to 9 or 5 to 8 or something every single night. You know, helping me take care of the kids, and then that hour you get before bedtime, or those 3 hours you get on Saturday watching football, your wife can genuinely appreciate the time that you're taking to rest and value you watching football, even if she doesn't care about football, because you poured into her, you poured out of your bucket into everyone in your life over the week, and then you take that time to rest and be built back up in the Lord. So I think that's what Jesus is modeling here. Would you agree, Gabe?
Amen, dude. That's a great point. Yes, and that was one of our points we were going to bring up too. Was like this is a period of rest and recharge, right? It's not the pattern of your life to be lazy, right? And we're saying that you're actually not being lazy here. You're being responsible when you take these times, and so there's a difference. So literally, we work hard so we can play hard, or we work hard so we can rest hard. And I love what you said, so that people would actually rejoice when you do it, because they're like, man, you need this, right? And so, and again, we want to make sure you're helping your wife with this too. Schedule it for her. Schedule her time to have a day by herself to do whatever she wants to do, right? If that's go get a pedicure or a manicure, or go get a massage, or just go for a walk or for a run, or to go read for a day in front of a lake, or you know, whatever, or go to the movies with her friends, or go out to dinner with her friends, like whatever. Make sure you're taking care of her also, and yourselves. Like schedule that time to go on trips with her, to get her out of town, so that way y'all can connect away from the fray, and those things are really important. So right, this next scripture is Mark 7:24, and it says, he, talking about Jesus, he entered a house. I just lost it. Okay, he entered a house and did not want anyone to know it, yet he could not keep his presence a secret. So that verse right there in the book of Mark, just reminding us that sometimes Jesus needed a break from people because he was always around people. So again, we're not saying that, hey, in this time of loss and recovery from loss, that you just need to become a hermit, okay? Because people who are hermits, they become the Unabomber, right? Or they become like, what was that movie, The Shining, right? Like Jack Nicklaus's, or however he says his name, his character, right? That's not what we're going for here, okay? But sometimes you gotta have time alone, right? Just alone. And it might be alone. And you know a great time to do that? First thing in the morning, before everybody wakes up. Get your butt up, and then have your time alone in the morning, where you're communing with the Lord. You're having your quiet time, maybe, you know, spending time in the Word, maybe taking some time to read. I listened to this dude named Darren Hardy. I'm on this like daily email list from him. He's kind of a business coach, success coach, and written a bunch of books and that kind of thing, and does business training and whatnot. And one of the things he calls it like his, I don't know what he calls it, his power hour or something like that. Maybe I stole that from Tony Robbins. I don't know. There's some word he uses, but he talks about how, you know, the first hour of his day, you know, it's just for him, where he doesn't appear to be a believer, but he talks about where he'll just have his time reading. You know, he's got certain books that he'll read every day, and then he'll journal, and he'll, you know, so those are good ideas to do. So you can have that time alone before your day starts. And maybe it's at the end of your day. Maybe you have a super stressful job, and once, you know, you get your kids to bed, you know, then you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You know, I'm going to spend 5 or 10 minutes just resetting and recharging, reading, maybe praying. And maybe that time is you and your wife doing that together. The TV's off, it's quiet, and y'all are spending that time recharging at the end of your day. So again, this is not every day, because obviously Jesus was among people all the time. You know, it said that the crowds were so bad that, and I was reading this week in my quiet times in Luke right now, and it said the crowds were so thick that they were crushing him, basically. So just think, man, like, this is like the Beatles times 10, right? I mean, you know, like, Michael Jackson had nothing on Jesus when he was walking around the cities of Israel there. So he would take that time and get away, because he just needed some time to recharge.
Yeah, I mean, I think this echoes, everything we've been saying, that, it's good to take a break. It's good to get out of your daily routine, things. I think as humans, routine is good, and most of us live by routine. It keeps us straight, but it can also become monotonous and I guess cause us to lose focus on what's really important, and that is God first, your wife second, and your children, your work after that. And I think rest gets to like 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th priority there. And I do think maybe there's not a great place to prioritize this, but I think God should always be number 1. I think your wife should always be 2, and your children should always be 3, and then I think rest is 4. I mean, I don't think you definitely shouldn't prize rest over God. You definitely shouldn't prize rest over your family, but I can't think of much else that you should prize rest or should see rest as less than, if it's, whatever your hobby is. Like, I think if you're a big football fan, like, and you're going to games every week, and maybe that is restful for you. If it's not restful for you, then you're messing up the balance there. So whatever the thing is that you rest through versus your hobbies, I think that's something that you need to prioritize in your life. And we see, like we try to demonstrate through these verses, that Jesus modeled that like we just said, he worked hard, but he rested when necessary. And I think you could probably say that Jesus worked harder in his 3 years of public ministry than any of us do, as a chiropractor, as a project manager, as whatever you are. If you're a blue collar guy, white collar guy, if you're working 6 hours a day, or if you're working 16 hours a day, Jesus worked harder than you, and he rested as well. So I think that's a good God honoring thing to be able to do. And I think the parts of rest that we've tried to lay out in the last podcast and this one all need to be an element of rest. Is taking time to be alone, worshiping the Lord, recharging is what the goal of your rest should be, and getting away from people. And you put here in the notes, Gabe, that it's good to be alone with the Lord and those close to you, your inner circle, whether that's you and your wife, or that's you and a couple of buddies that are people who are holding you accountable. And maybe sometimes it is just you and God. And like you said, we shouldn't detach from people, but we need to make time to schedule this break.
Yeah.
And I think I like to live in the clouds and the theology and all this different stuff, and you do a good job of kind of bringing us down to earth sometimes. So I think what you have some ideas of what kind of things can we do? What does rest look like? How do you model or schedule rest in your life?
Yeah, I think so. How do we schedule it? Literally schedule it, right? Like literally put that on your calendar for a day, for the week, for the month, for the year. Like, when are you going to take a vacation? When are you going to take that short overnight trip with your wife? When are you going to, what's your day look like? Like, when are you going to have your time with the Lord? When are you going to have your workout in? What's your 6 weeks look like? When are you going to take the family and run up, to do something fun at some little festival? Like, if we don't put these things on the calendar, they will not get done. And so literally you have to calendar it. Certainly working out, that's a great idea. Even if you're not a workout guy, just go take a walk. Like, schedule that. Like, hey, I'm going to go take a walk every day for 20 minutes. Doesn't have to be long, but that walk with no phone, where you're not, trying to check email while you're walking or whatnot. I'm not saying you can't listen to music or something like that, but I think that's a good idea. When's your vacation going to be? When's your vacation with your wife? When's your vacation with your kids? Like, you got them. Your work gives them to you. And if you work for yourself, you got to schedule that time. Listen, I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm not that great about that. I have not been that great about that in my career. And, I was talking to my wife last night about how just recently I've rescheduled my week so that I'm home during the week in time to have dinner with my family, except for Wednesday nights. That's the one week work day that I'm staying late now. But before, like it was 3 or 4 nights a week that I was never home for dinner, and it's been that way for 15 years since my daughter's been, or 20 years since I've been working, and like, man, it's been so nice to be able to be home and like actually sit down at the dinner table with my family multiple nights a week instead of just 1 or 2. So schedule those times with your family. Again, maybe you like to hike. Go hiking. Schedule it. Maybe you like to read. Schedule some time every day for yourself to read. I've got that on my calendar. It comes up an alert every night at 9:30 that says read for 30 minutes. So I'm like putting that on my calendar to make sure that I do it. And then maybe it's watching movies. Maybe it's journaling. You know, maybe it's watching some of your favorite TV shows. Like there's lots of different ways that you can rest and recharge. But the point is that we got to schedule it. We have to make it a priority. Things that get put on our calendars get done. If you just make to-do lists, you're going to just forget that to-do list. So put it on your calendar, make yourself an alert. You have a smartphone, do it. And those things are going to get done. And we just have to make it a priority.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, we've mentioned it before, but there's multiple different parts, I guess, of rest, you know, how you schedule that, you know, what it looks like for your family. And, you know, I think we made that point a minute ago that you need to schedule time for yourself to rest. You also need to schedule time for your wife to rest. And, you know, I don't know, my experience, you know, hopefully we're called to be the husbands of one wife. So, you know, there's things that happen in the world, you know, where you have divorces and you spend time with, you know, with married to multiple women throughout your life. But, you know, for you and I, we've been married once. We're with one woman. We've grown to know our wives, and I don't know, you know, anybody else's experience, but like, you know, we just talked about before this, we reported today that like our wives carry heavy loads, good burdens and good loads to take care of the house, to take care of the family, you know, and schedule and you know, all the things we do outside of the home, they're doing inside the home. And, you know, certainly if you think that's easier or less important, you know, you need to, you know, have a come to Jesus moment with yourself and you know, apologize to your wife for treating her work as less important than yours. But, you know, I think we need to keep in mind that she's pouring herself out every day, and, you know, she may be fine for 3 days, a week, a month, you know, everything's going smoothly and she has nothing to complain about. And then, you know, just like you have one really rough day at work, and, you know, maybe Gabe, you know, you just told me of an instance where y'all had some technology issues, and that just probably caused a really stressful week. You know, I had the same thing where there's some days that we have these plans on the job site and everything's good, and, you know, in our heads and on paper it's gonna be great, we're gonna accomplish this much this week, and then we don't get material that we needed, or, you know, a piece of equipment breaks down, or somebody just outright lied to us about what they were gonna accomplish, and that just, you know, thing A gets messed up, and that throws thing B, C, D, E, F, and Q that we've already planned for way out. And so you go from like, you know, cool, life's, you know, I'm working hard, but, you know, life's good, to like, oh no, like we got to reschedule everything. And so just in the same way that you can get really stressed out by one bad day, I think your wife can just as easily get stressed out by one rough day at home. And we need to be mindful of that, and I need to be mindful of that, speaking to myself, to schedule time for our wives to get away from the children, from, you know, their job if they're working, from their daily responsibilities as well, and rest and recharge, and be careful not to treat our wives as someone who serves us, but to remember that we are called to love our wives sacrificially as Jesus loved the church, and that means, you know, give ourselves up for her. So, you know, again, you gotta find balance in life, and, you know, prioritize your own rest and recuperation as well, so that you can build up your wife. But I think, you know, if there are times when it's like you're gonna rest or your wife's gonna rest, you just need to suck it up sometimes and let your wife rest.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, I mean, I'll let you, you know, share a story or get ready to close us out, or whatever you're ready for here,
Okay,
Gabe. But
sure.
I think that's I think that is an important part that I know I need to do better on. Is, I get, we talked about the hobbies and things like that. I have gotten into running over the past year, and so that's kind of a way, you're working out like you said, but you're mentally resting because I get to listen to a podcast or to music, and so I'm going out and I'm, I guess, I don't know the science of it, like there's endorphins being released by working out, so you feel better, you're getting in better shape. You cut the grass, and like cutting the grass is hard, but also like you get that time alone, so it's kind of nice sometimes. And there are definitely times when I prioritize my own, even unconsciously, prioritize my own rest and relaxation over my wife's. And I think if, not that I'm, a perfect guy or like I'm the model or anything like that, but I think if I, as an average guy, have that ditch that I need to stay out of, I think that's probably a pretty common thing that we all need to be aware of, is just making sure we care for and love our wives well by giving them a chance to rest.
Dude, that's great. I don't think I need to add anything to that, brother, because that's I love how you finish that up. And again, that's selfless, right? Where we're putting our wives above ourselves, and that's what we want to do. And the way that we can do that is making sure we're taking care of them, so that way they can have the energy that they need as well. And certainly we want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, so that way we can be there for our wives and be strong physically and mentally and spiritually and emotionally like they need us to be, especially during a difficult time like we're talking about on this show. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Don't forget to check out our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram pages as well, Lost Boys and Found Fathers.
And YouTube now, right?
And YouTube now, that's right. Getting on the tube. Back in the day, I didn't when I first heard about YouTube, I couldn't find it. I was typing in the letter U, tube, because I was like, it's like iPad, like iPhone. I was like, oh, it must be YouTube, and then obviously that's some random site that's, and I was like,
probably set up just for people like you that
like
didn't
me,
know how to spell it.
The morons that don't know how to do stuff online. So I was, because my buddy was telling me about it or something, I was like, bro, I can't find it. It doesn't exist. He's like, no, you idiot. Type in the Y-O-U. I was like, oh, okay. And wow, it's a really big platform.
It's a pretty big thing.
Yeah, pretty big thing, yeah. So
if you haven't heard of it, check it out.
That's right.
There's a lot of good stuff there.
YOUTUBE.com. That's how you find that.
Yes, that's how you find that.
So yeah, and check out my books. My older one, Thy Will Be Done. Put a question mark at the end of that. Trusting God in the midst of suffering, pain, or loss. You can find that on Amazon. Or my newest one, Every Little Thing: 6 Small Steps to Perfect Peace. You find that on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, or Apple Books. So thank you guys for joining us today. Let's not be lost. Let's be found in Him.